Nation. The hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews. It's your number one source. Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
Welcome to another jam-packed episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important news from the sports card hobby. We'll have some debates, opinions, new release schedules, and info. Plus, we'll also discuss the sports that so directly affect the hobby we all love. We'll mix in an occasional gambling tip or two, throw in some life stuff, and bring you great guest interviews from the hobby and sports dignitaries. And if you're good listeners, we may even give away a few things now and then. Now, here's the guy who wanted the cards and not the gum, John Newman.
Sports Card Nation podcast, episode 47. I'm John Newman. Got a great show for you today. Excited to have Kinsley from Bean's Ballcard blog as my guest on this show. Really good guy, great writer, blogger, doesn't mince words, tells it how he feels, something I think we need more of. Doesn't care whether you agree or disagree with him. And he's a straight shooter. You know, some call that opinionated. I call that, we all have opinions, so everyone's opinionated. I just call that being transparent and upfront. I'm glad to have him on. He's a hobby stalwart and very well respected, and we had a great conversation. I think you'll enjoy it. And speaking of conversations, you know, I've been calling the guest interviews. But, you know, truth be told, they're more like conversation just between two people. Really laid back, very unscripted. We just kind of go where the conversation goes. So I'm going to try to do more of a concerted effort to actually just refer to them as conversations rather than interviews. Yes, I ask questions like you would in an interview, but I view them more as kind of off-the-cuff conversations between two people. And that's what they are. So I'll refer them as much as I can to conversations rather than interviews. And having Ken on this week was a great conversation, as I already said. So I hope you enjoy that later on in the show. Let's talk about some of the shows upcoming. This is episode 47. We are that much closer to episode 50. And as previously promised, we will be giving away $50 cash on episode 50. And to be honest, we're probably going to incorporate our Flick Chat message room into that giveaway. So if you're familiar with the Flick Chat app, it's sort of like a kind of a group chat message board type of app. If you have that app or you want to download it, it's Flick Chat. It's free. Doesn't cost a dime. And if you are already on it or you're getting it, join our room. It's Sports Card Nation, all one word, Sports Card Nation. And I think when we get to episode 50, we're going to give the $50 away through a contest through that. So if you want to kind of get that now and kind of be ready for when that time comes here in November 8th will be episode 50, barring any kind of setbacks. Be November 8th. And like I said, we're going to give away a $50 bill probably through our Flick Chat message board. So if you want to get in there now and be ready for that $50 giveaway. In the following week, November 15th. November 10th is going to be the 1 year of the show. We started in November 10th. 2018, so on November 10th we will be officially 1 year old. Pretty exciting. We made it and come a long way, obviously. And on episode 51, we're talking about $50 on 50. That's peanuts, because on episode 51, which is November 15th, we're going to call that our birthday and anniversary show, and it's looking ginormous. We're going to have almost over $1,000 in prize giveaways. That's right, $1,000 in combined prizes. We're going to have between 20 and 25 different prizes. I'm going to make it where you can only win one. So we should have 20 to 25 winners of prizes from $100 break credit. Munster is sending some stuff. Some of the sponsors are coming up. Big Time 101 Sports Card, 101 Card Shop, and Steve Chada have donated 10 break credits, $100 break credit, two $50 break credits, five $25 break credits, or two $25 break credits and five $10 break credits. Firebox is going to donate, I think, a card and a few other things. Newman Sports Cards, my other side of what I do, is going to donate some stuff as well. We're going to have a Zion Williamson Panini Draft Night rookie card that will be given away. We're going to give away a Sports Card Nation podcast shirt. Like I said, Monster Energy is going to have some stuff. I figured all total, it looks like we're going to be either over or very close to the $1,000 mark in giveaways in 20 to 25 different items. And I'm going to make a rule where you can only win once. That way we can have 20 to 25 different winners, and maybe everybody, a lot of people will have a shot to take a prize home. So that's November 15th, episode 51, our birthday show. And it's our birthday show where you get the gifts, you, the listeners, 20 to 25 prizes, estimated value about $1,000. So we got some giveaways, big time giveaways coming up here in the next few weeks. We have an award show where we're going to give away some hobby awards, but they're going to be kind of done differently. I think we're going to schedule that for the first week in December, and they're going to be the first annual Hobbyist Choice Awards, Sports Card Nation Hobbyist Choice Awards. I'm going to pick the candidates in many categories. I'm going to put polls up where you will vote. You, the people, you, the listeners, will vote on each of those categories, and whoever wins those polls will be award winners. I will probably print up some awards for those companies that win them. I'll send them to them. What they do with them will be their business, but if you win the award, you should get it. And so looking forward to that, something hopefully we'll do every year, and we'll start this year. So look for those polls coming up shortly, as I want to have all the votes in before, obviously, the show airs. So some exciting stuff coming up. We got some guests coming up as well that we think you'll enjoy, and as always, we thank you.
And here we go.
It's time for What's Cracking. All right, got to start off with Zion Williamson stuff. Panini did the instant for the metal autograph cards, insane prices in various denominations, and many went into four figures. I believe the one of one black was $12,000. I don't really notice it on the site no more, so I'm assuming it sold. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Immaculate Collegiate's out. Some of the stuff there is insane with him on it. Panini Prism Collegiate is out as well. Same thing. So his stuff is just being eaten up as soon as it's hitting the auction sites, or released by Panini as instant sale, online sales, and just insane. I think the green medals were $599.99. The RPS First Look Black 1 of 1 on Panini is $2,000, and it's just crazy money exchanging hands on one guy. I think he's having a great preseason, looking pretty good. I think that's fueling, obviously, the fire. I even went on eBay just to kind of see what stuff's going for there, and obviously extreme and high prices. And the thing I noticed when I did the search on eBay, and this is a topic of recent discussion and previous discussion on social media, is all the fake cards that's being allowed to be put on eBay. And there's a ton of Zion Williamson unauthorized fake cards. And I got to be honest with you, I mean, I know they're fake. Most people in the industry can tell the difference, but some of these are pretty good. And to someone maybe not as knowledgeable or not as up on things, they look like legitimate cards, and I'm sure they're selling a lot of these. And again, I just don't know why eBay allows this to go on. I've had them email me to fix a couple of my auctions just because of wording. So how are these being allowed to be listed like that? And they shouldn't be. These ACO cards and these, it's difficult. I get the sketch cards are done by artists in their own right. I mean, that's kind of borderline. And I guess maybe that's the difficulty, is how can you allow those and not the unauthorized cards? And the wording is sort of shady, where someone who doesn't know any better might think it's a genuine article. And it's sad that people out there probably getting taken for granted, and their hard-earned money is going towards something that they think is genuine, only maybe to find out later on that it's not. But this Zion Williamson, I gotta be honest with you, I knew it would be crazy, but it's even more crazier than I anticipated. More basketball products are obviously coming down the line, so this mania will continue. And it's funny, this Zion mania with these basketball releases, it's really overshadowing a lot of the other sports releases that are coming out. Topps Update is out for baseball. I gave my opinion on the last show, even though it's not out yet then, but now it is. And it's Topps Update. It's going to sell on past performance alone, but I think Series 2 this year of 2019 baseball is going to be kind of the update of past year, and the update is missing some key guys, Jordan Alvarez and certain others. So it'll get consumed, obviously, because it's Topps Update. But, someone asked me on the last show about it, and I answered that on the segment. I don't think it's going to be as good as the update years of past. Obviously, 2018 was a huge year. That wax is obviously rising in price and whatnot. So the other big trend, a lot of people searching their local Walmarts and Targets in the clearance section for 2017 products. Football, obviously Patrick Mahomes rookies, Christian McCaffrey rookies, and Christian McCaffrey really tearing it up. He's one of those guys. I'm going to pat myself on the back here, guys. I was a believer early on when others weren't, and I bought quite a bit of his stuff cheap that I put away and didn't really even try to sell. I've got about 5 or 6 of the select XRC rookies, which have really skyrocketed since he's been playing really well lately. I even sent in one for grading, which came back at 10. So that thing is insane. I've kind of just put that away for now. And this guy can beat you with his legs. He can beat you with his hands. And, it's like I told Drew Hernan, who's obviously a Panthers fan and sees him up close. This is a guy that if he was just a receiver would be one of the best receivers in the game. And if he was just, he is a running back. He's one of the best running backs, if not the best running back. I put him and Saquon right there, 1 and 2, if you will. I know others might argue that, but that's how I feel. And he can line up at wideout and be one of the top receivers, and he does both very, very, very well. And I still think he's underrated. I think people aren't believing in him yet. I don't know what it's going to take. I do, and like I said, I stockpiled quite a bunch of his stuff, put it away, and right now, I look like the smart guy for it. Let's stick to football. And talk a little bit about quarterbacks. Another guy I think still kind of underrated. He's kind of catching up is Deshaun Watson. He's another guy. I just gave myself credit for buying Christian McCaffrey very early on and cheap and just kind of putting away and holding on to it. Deshaun Watson, I'll do the opposite. He was a guy I didn't think was going to be great. I thought he might be good. I didn't think he was going to live up to the billing or a lot of things I heard coming out of Clemson. But he's really put himself in that elite quarterback class. Just had a nice battle with Patrick Mahomes, who, yes, is hurt, but I watched that game. Deshaun Watson's in the top 5 of quarterbacks in the NFL. Again, his stuff, much of his stuff is still at reasonable levels. For how long, I don't know. I think that's trending up, obviously, and so get it while you can, if you can. I think he is the real deal. And staying on quarterbacks, last year Baker Mayfield was the darling of the hobby, set some rookie quarterback records. His stuff was going for Mahomes levels rather quickly, and he struggled as of late, kind of throwing some interceptions. Cleveland's not dominating like many thought they would, and so a lot of people are kind of getting off the Baker Mayfield bus, if you will. And the big thing coming out of college was who was going to be the best quarterback in that draft class. You had Baker, Sam Darnold, and Josh Rosen, and Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's playing pretty well. I have my thoughts on him. I think he's a better runner than a thrower. I think he fattened up some of his stats on some of the lesser teams in the league, and when he's played better teams, he's kind of come down to reality. I think he's a great athlete, great football player. But if you're talking pure quarterback, I don't put him in that great class. Some would probably disagree with me. If you do, give us some feedback. And the whole dilemma, Josh Rosen has really kind of proven that he might be the one that doesn't pan out. Hate to say it like that, but he's looking that part. And then you got, the two guys that compared each other to the most. You got Baker and Sam Darnold, and a lot of, that was that debate. And after last year, a lot of the Baker fans and advocates were like, see, we told you Baker's going to be better than Sam Darnold. And this year, the Sam Darnold camp is got the bragging rights. And Darnold obviously had mono, just came back, had a great game against Dallas off mono, 330-something yards passing, a couple touchdowns, Jets win. And he looks like he's going to be the Jets' long-term answer at that position. He looks like things are slowing down for him, and he's figuring things out. And he's really looks like he might be the hobby darling now, where a lot of Baker's prices have definitely free-falled. I think it's too early to hit the panic button on Baker, but it's interesting to see this dynamic change and kind of Sam Darnold kind of pass him around the turn here. And, it'll be interesting to see and track the rest of the year how both of these guys perform. Cleveland will probably be the better team record-wise, but, record-wise isn't indicative of quarterback play all the time. So Sam Darnold's, again, missed time, but in the games he's played, he's fared very well, better year in that short amount of time than Baker has shown. And so now that they're both playing at the same time, it'll be interesting to see who outplays who and that sort of thing. And right now it looks like Sam Darnold has passed Baker on the nearest turn here, whether he can hold that lead or not. And can Baker turn these things around? There's no shortage of Baker Mayfield commercials on TV. Not a lot of Sam Darnold's, and if trends continue, I got a feeling you might see less Baker Mayfield commercials and a lot more Sam Darnold commercials.
Sports Card Nation Podcast is your weekly hobby and sports podcast, now on 10 platforms: iTunes, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, Radio Public, Anchor, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Castbox, and Overcast. Listen to in over 26 countries globally, Sports Card Nation Podcast is one of the most interactive podcasts around, providing great content, giveaways, and some of the hobby's best interview guests without time constraints. Thousands can't be wrong. We want to thank all the wonderful listeners around the world, all our great guests, and our tremendous sponsors for making us what we are today. As always, without you, there is no us.
One of One Card Shop offers a tremendous breaking experience, great customer service, and they're constantly pulling fire. Steve and his family take care of you like one of their own and treat you right. Anyone can break, but no one treats you like One of One. Come check them out on Instagram at one_of_one_card_shop. For all the hot breaks, get a gold mailer headed your way.
We love our listeners. Without you, there is no us. We care about your opinions and feedback and invite you to reach out to us on any of our social media accounts. On Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast, Twitter at SportsCardNati1, or email the show at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. We don't ask for much, but if you really like the show, give us a shout out. Tell your friends or give us a follow on our social medias. If you enjoy the show, please give us a positive review on iTunes or any of the platforms you are listening on. Thank you.
So my next guest on the Monster Energy Sports Card Nation podcast guest line is someone I've admired what he does, his work. Some people might call it opinionated. I call it being yourself and speaking your mind. It's something I like to put myself in that category, and I appreciate it's refreshing when you see it. He does a blog. He's a great advocate of the hobby in general. Most people will know him from Twitter, and I'm glad I finally could get him on the show, and glad he's here. Welcome, Ken Kinsley.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for the wonderful introduction. And some people say I'm negative, and I just say I'm just real. I just call it like I see it.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and not to throw myself in the same category with you, but I'm one of those guys, that I know sometimes I'll say stuff and I'll know before I hit send or even say it, even verbally in conversations that, maybe someone might not agree with exactly what I'm about to say or parts of it, but, no one can say we have to wonder what John's really feels, and same thing with you, Ken. I think you're honest. That's what it is. Sometimes we use that word opinionated, not that it's a terrible word, but I think aren't we all really opinionated? And if we have an opinion, we all, if you're not opinionated, it means you're not really thinking about anything. So I think I call it more straight shooter, honest, direct, whatever word you want to use. And to me, it's refreshing because, you don't have to wonder, what that person really feels or they're thinking. And I read your stuff, I read your content, whether it's the blog or even your posts online, and, probably 8 out of 10, if not more, I tend to agree with. So, if there's a few people that don't, what are you going to do? I know I talked to you a little bit before coming on, and I told you some of my own personal experience. You can't. I learned at a decent age, you can't please everyone, no matter how hard you try or hope to. It's just one of those things. And if you please more than you don't, I guess you're doing all right. And I think you do that. So I think you're doing more than all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, especially with the social media and the Twitter. It's kind of how I stay connected to cards. I haven't been writing as much. I haven't been doing as many YouTube videos. We had also, talked before, where I said, I'm kind of taking a little bit of a step back. The hobby can be very time consuming.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that sometimes, I didn't realize that as a single man. I mean, I'm 40 years old. I've collected for 32 years. I've been collecting since 1987.
Yeah.
And you don't really think about how much time you spent. Now, I had some couple-year relationships in there, but, I've been with my now wife for 5 years, and, man, it's just like every minute that I spend on cards is minutes that I spend away from her, and she's my best friend. There's nobody I'd rather be with, hang out with, talk to. I don't even know where I was going with that.
Yeah. No.
I mean, the hobby, it's very time consuming. I mean, if you're going to, no matter what it is, if you want to try to buy and sell, if you want to try to put that together, if you want to try to blog, if you want to try to do videos, it's a super time consuming hobby. And so I think I'm just kind of, more my Twitter opinions, and I'll write what I want to write on there and interact on there. And that's where most of it is these days.
Yeah. Well, you do a good job. You're balancing it out. Like you said, you're married 5 years, so you're not divorced. So that's obviously a very good thing, and it's great to hear you have that kind of relationship with your wife. Like you said, best friend. I'm married 20 years. Somehow, God bless my wife as well. My wife does not know anything about cards. She doesn't care. Even if I'm excited about something and maybe I mentioned something to her and she's like, okay, so but she supports what I do, and that's good. Not to put you on the spot, does your wife does she share any interest, or is she kind of like mine, like, hey, that's your thing, enjoy it when you can, and go ahead?
Yeah, she's not. She's very supportive. She is a wonderful woman. She is my angel. I can't say enough good things about her. She's supportive, but at the same time, I pay the bills. I'm not going into credit card debt to buy cards. Yeah, I'm not spending 3 hours every evening on the hobby. Sometimes I see what some other collectors are doing, and I'm like, man, I don't know how you spend that much time on it. No, she's not a collector, but as I've gotten more into the last 3 years, and I've gotten into a lot of pre-war and just a lot of random stuff and some non-sport, she appreciates, especially the old stuff for what it is. I've got, I think, 11 of 16 players from, that's a T210 set. It's a minor league set, Old Mill Red Borders. Well, we live I could be into Fort Worth city limits in 5 minutes. We live in Arlington. Yeah. So I put that together, or I'm putting that together, and, she appreciates it for what it is. And we have one of our beach vacation spots down in Galveston, so I'm working on Galveston as well. And she appreciates those. I picked up some of the tobacco cards from the bird sets. Well, she loves birds. She loves to sit out in the morning and take pictures of birds in our backyard and things like that. And then she is also a Dallas Stars fan. I'm a Blackhawks fan. Yeah. So I have her a binder of Dallas Stars cards that I pick up, and then there's some, she likes Alexander Ovechkin. she denies it, but she would probably leave me for him in an instant. So there's some of those in there, and I bought her at a show, a couple of years ago. I bought her a Beverly Hills 90210 card set because she loves 90210.
Yeah.
So just some little things. So I feel like, I kind of keep her, a little bit, I keep her in mind when I'm doing it. But yeah, she's not into it, but she is super supportive. I couldn't ask for a better woman from, that.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man, and it's nice to have that. Like my wife's not as supportive, maybe as the way you described yours, but she, if I tell her something going on, whether it's with the show or some good news, or she'll ask about it, she'll conversate, but when it comes to the straight cards, and my son who's 19 does a little collecting. She'll tell you, like, I don't know what you're telling me, but if it's good, I'm happy for you, so.
Yeah, well, but we can touch base in 15 more years and see if she still feels the same.
Yeah, I got a feeling, though. It sounds like she will. She sounds like a good woman, and you're very lucky. It sounds like you said that yourself, so.
Yeah, she is, and like I said, and that's what's interesting to me is how, her, that's part of my hobby evolution. One of the things I'm looking to do is, get out of quantity and maybe get more into quality. Or if I look at a card, I've done multiple purges over the last handful of years, and it's like, if I can't remember what I got a card or where I got it, or it doesn't give me a memory of some sort, do I really need it?
Yeah.
Or am I just collecting just to collect? It's, I've been doing it for 32 years since I was 7, 8 years old, and it's just like, it's such a part of me. It's something I've always done. I don't know me without collecting. I don't know that I could do it.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's kind of like an addiction. I'm losing weight personally, and one of the toughest things is that addiction to soda.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, cards can kind of be the same. Not in the negative that it's necessarily hurting you, although it can if, you're outspending your means and things like that. But, she just, she's a part of my evolution on that, working on less quantity and maybe more quality. Plus, hey, let's just be honest, I'm going to kick the can before she does, and I don't want her having 2 million cards that she's got to try to figure out what the heck to do with.
Well, I hope not. I don't like to think like that. And, like you said, you dropped a bunch of pounds. Congratulations on that. And you mentioned soda. I got to tell you, Ken, I used to be a huge soda fiend, like bad, like a 2 liter a day, if not more. I don't do that anymore. I'm not going to say I don't drink soda, but I try to really limit. I don't really keep track, but I kind of limit myself to like 4 or 5 cans maybe for the week on a good week, and definitely beats the 2 liter a day that I did when I was younger, and it caught up to me in more ways than one. It's as you know, it's a lot of sugar. It's not healthy. There's not a lot of nutritional value, if any, and I like the taste of it, so I can't completely give it up, but I drink way less, and I've noticed a difference in how I feel, and probably a few pounds lighter than I would be if I was still on that pace. And it's not always easy, but you got to you got to do some things that aren't easy, and sounds like you're doing a really good job with that. So kudos to you there as well.
Yeah, and just listening to you talk about all that, like I said, think about, maybe when you listen back to this later, think about that in card terms. And it's very similar. It can be very similar.
Yeah, and you mentioned something that I've thought. You go online, and I try to pick my spots and not be on too much, like you said, but you see certain other people, and they're just always posting, always on there, and if you know that they have a significant other, you just wonder. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a direct person, much like yourself. I just like, man, does that cause an issue there? Is that a spouse that's saying, hey, put the phone down, turn the computer off? Is it causing some early issues, which may lead to bigger ones? And not that you can worry about everyone else, but that's how my mind works. You mentioned it too, so your mind works a little bit like that as well. And everyone's responsible, obviously, for their own actions. But I've had my own son, my own teenage son, say, "Dad, put your phone down. You're always on your phone." And usually it's the other way around, And so I myself, I don't really have a rule, but I just try to pick spots when I can do certain things, and then have that other time, like you said, to spend time with my wife and whatnot. My son's off to school, so he's not home right now, but he'll drop in on not every weekend, but when he does, we make a point to do something when that happens. So you got to be disciplined. You got to know when to say when, as they say, and it sounds like you got that frame of mind, and some do, some don't, and maybe the ones that don't, I hope not, for their sake. I'm not rooting against them. I try not to be like that, but you wonder if somewhere down the line that might cause an issue, personally. So, and maybe, hopefully that's something that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll be in the same situation as you next year. I have a stepson that's actually going to turn 18 next week.
Wichita State, right? Wichita State. Well, so he's not into sports at all. But yeah. He is. He likely will be like Texas All-State Choir this year, which is huge, and we're extremely proud of him. But he's not into sports, but I tell you, he did get just a little bit. He got really excited. I bought some of those Stranger Things cards at Walmart and brought him home and gave him a blaster, and then I gave him a second blaster, and he was able to put the set together. He was pretty excited about those. So, trying to at least pass a little bit of it on, and he used to collect Pokemon and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll have that situation where it's going to be just the two of us starting in a little less than a year now. So yeah. Well, that'll be, they'll be good to that. Like you said, I think, you mentioned with balancing cards, and it sounds like, you kind of have a plan in mind to be able to still do when you want to, and obviously enjoy your personal life as well. And that just shows your mindset that you care. Some people, I think, care more than others, if you will. But what are you going to do? That's going to be. It's always going to be like that. So.
Yes, sir. Yeah, life is good. So, like I said, just going back to it, and that's kind of why, it's just kind of evolved. I mean, probably many of us that collect, especially those of us that have been lifelong collectors and, 20, 30 years, for the longest time, it was about quantity.
Yep.
And I'm sure there were some that focused more on quality, and I wish I had been one of those guys. But, yeah, I mean, I can't even tell you. I know that after I did obviously, probably most of the listeners will know who Rich Klein is.
Yeah.
After one of his synagogue shows, I had just boxes and boxes of commons, and I just donated. I mean, it was probably, if you think a monster box is 5,000 roughly, I probably donated, close to like 50,000 cards to him.
Yeah.
For their event, and how many times have all of us just purged, monster box after monster box.
Same here. Yep.
But yeah, definitely focusing, trying to focus in. But that's one of my struggles, and I'm envious of other collectors that can maintain a focus, because my focus has changed so many times. I've had so many projects, and even though I say I want to, kind of downsize and go quality, I've got like 10, 15 different projects / sets I'm working on, and I feel like sometimes people, outsiders, will just look at it and go, "This is absolute madness," and I think that I've gotten better.
Yeah, well, I know you've transitioned. I know you've went more to the vintage from the modern, which is, I'm not going to lie, it's something I've thought about myself doing more. I kind of do both. More modern, truth be told, than vintage, but I try to do both. Have you completely gotten cold turkey on modern completely, or how have you answered that? Obviously.
What's that old line from the movie? Every time I think of
oh yeah, Godfather 3. Yep, Godfather 3.
I have been the last few days have been, and it's been a long time since I did this. I used to I would tweet about it, and I did my own hashtag. I called it the Andrew Shaw Project. It was my favorite hockey player. Still is.
Yep.
Finally back with my team. I still probably have the best collection of his cards because of the number of one-of-ones and low numbers I have. I never sold them even when I stopped collecting. But when you player collect and you do stuff like that, man, you are glued to, you've always got that eBay browser up, with newest listed, refreshing every 10, 15, or, if you have a real problem like I did, every 2 or 3 minutes. And I found myself over the last week doing that again because his Panini Contenders baseball came out.
Yep.
There was it's only a 25-card set, but Alec Manoah pitched at my alma mater, which is West Virginia. And he's in the set and got some autographs, so I've been refreshing, keeping an eye on those. I've won 3 of those so far. One of them showed up today. How about this? You probably didn't even see the tweet yet. On the shipping label.
Yep.
Dude, okay, this dude has like over 20,000 eBay feedback. He literally wrote on the outside what the card was.
Why?
Now, I have no idea. Okay, this is an Alec Manoah. Nobody's going to know who that is. I want to know that if he sells a Mickey Mantle, does he write a Mickey Mantle on there? Does he write a Mike Trout on there? I mean, come on,
well,
man.
That makes no sense. That reminds me of something I don't do. So I don't want to, spend a ton of time talking. So I have Newman sports cards. That's my, I'll sell some cards, list some stuff on eBay. I pay taxes. I got a tax number. And when I ship cards from Newman Sports Cards, there's nowhere, I don't even use Newman Sports Cards as I just put John Newman. So it looks like it's just coming from a person. I don't want to advertise that there's cards in this bubble mailer. So I don't even.
That's something I never even would have thought of. But never even thought of it.
Yeah, so if anyone orders something or buys something from the Newman Sports Card side of what I do, there'll be business cards inside the bubble mailer, but nowhere on the outside is there any indication that there's sports cards in there or it's coming from a business that does sports cards. And I just did that from day one. I just said, what's in here is not going to change, but I don't want to make it easy if someone, I don't want to paint the post office with a broad brush, but there's been cases that have been reported that, mail carriers who knew it was cards were taking these packages. And so I just don't want to advertise and make it that easy, guess what, this is for sure, So I've always done that. And, I had someone email me back. Like, I almost didn't open the package because I didn't recognize, I didn't know it was my order. And I'm like, well, I do that and I explained to him what I just said here. I do that for a reason. To me, I think it's just safer that it's going to get to you without any issues or mistake, by accident getting ripped open and something's not in there anymore. And after I explained it, they responded back, yeah, that makes sense. I appreciate it. So, they didn't get it initially, but so write an actual player name. I don't know. I think what it is, I don't want to speak for this person. I'm guessing that maybe they had a few orders and that they just knew what to put in that bubble mailer or envelope.
I mean, that's my assumption as well. But man, you're treading on some thin ice there.
Yeah, but there's a better way to do that. I mean, you can print out a shipping label, write it on a part of that you can cut off or whatnot, or you're gonna fold it. There's better ways to do it, but some people are a little bit lazier than others. Let's say I don't know the person, so I don't want to besmirch him, but that's my guess. That's my guess, Ken, is that he maybe had 3 or 4 things that he was mailing out at the same time, and he wanted, I guess it's nice he had the wherewithal, so you got the card you wanted and not someone else's card, and
Yeah, glad someone else didn't end up with it because it's numbered out of 5. So
yeah.
And one of them had already sold before I even did that, so we're down to 3 that are available potentially, but. Yeah, so going back to what you said, I mean, I feel like I get away from the modern, and then every once in a while things come in. We were talking before, and I even just mentioned it with Alex Manoah. Alec Manoa. I am a WVU grad.
Yeah.
So this year, there were 4 guys in the football product this year. So I don't bust boxes. Every once in a while I might buy, a blaster at Walmart just for that itch. But I've also got like a wax shelf on my in my spare bedroom that's got, probably up around 40 unopened boxes of stuff. Now mostly junk wax, so I can scratch that itch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like this year, I was going through and trying to pick up, Will Greer stuff.
Yeah.
Because he's a rookie. So I wanted the early stuff that's in the WVU uniforms, but buying it on its own separate, because I'm not playing the card lottery anymore. I don't open boxes.
Yeah.
If I open a box, it's because I want to put a set together. I bought some of the new Upper Deck James Bond. I bought 5 boxes of that. But again, I want to put that set together. So I'm not going to be disappointed if I don't hit some, Sean Connery auto numbered out of 5 to make my money back. I didn't buy the stuff to make money back or to make money. I bought it to put the set together, to collect the autographs of, all those players that have been in those, random movies and things like that. So, yeah, like I said, I get away and I won't buy. I think I go through spurts. Like I'm buying mostly, modern right now because I'm just looking for some of the low-numbered Alec Manoa. I'm going to wait, to buy the more available stuff. I'm going to wait until the off-season when, prices should have dropped off a little bit because the Blue Jays fans will all be thinking about hockey at that point.
Yeah.
But, so I still do, like I said, I still do a mix of things, but it definitely will still say I definitely lean toward the vintage and the pre-war. It's just a little more interesting to me, I guess, unless I have a real personal connection to something modern.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're targeting, you're being more disciplined. Obviously, you can't knock someone that's that's your alma mater, so you're trying to, you have a purpose with getting those cards and those players, and you're not just randomly opening any new product. There's a method to your madness, as they like to say. So I don't think anyone will blame me there. For me, one of my goals coming into 2019 was to open just a lot less wax in general. I knew I was going to still open it, but just be more disciplined and you mentioned, it's funny you mentioned earlier in the conversation about credit card bills, and I actually had my own personal one that it wasn't quite 5 figures, but it was getting there. And one of my goals was to, by the end of the year, by opening a lot less wax than I used to do prior to 2019, to get that card paid off and just open less wax in general for obvious reasons, especially modern. And, I think I posted, I'm not sure I did or I didn't, I can't remember now, but, last month I zero balanced that card, and truthfully, it was it was from just opening, I don't want to say solely, but a big percentage of the reason that happened was just opening a lot less wax than I traditionally had done before this year. And I was worried whether I could do it, whether I'd have the willpower, would I cave it, would I revert back to kind of what sort of like muscle memory, and I got to give myself a little credit. I really was pretty good, and I do open stuff. I'm not going cold turkey, but I just open way less. And I got to be honest with you, it wasn't as hard as I was anticipating. Like what I envisioned, it might be difficult. Not nearly as that, and the more I do it, the less wax I open. It's actually kind of easier. And like you said, I think like some addictions, it's probably along the same lines. And so I'm going to keep that trend going, and now maybe save a little money up. And one of the cards I want to acquire is, I'm a big Jackie Robinson guy. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, and I joke around as a kid growing up there. Every book report or essay or speech in English class was Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson. To the point teachers would have to say, even as they were giving out the assignment, and John, pick someone other than Jackie Robinson this time. So, one of my things is I want to buy, that Leaf Jackie Robinson rookie. I've never owned one. I've owned quite a bunch of huge cards, from my store days, and then since then I've never actually owned that. For how that is, I don't know. Probably price is a factor there, or I just never actually pulled the trigger, and so that's one of my goals is I don't have a timeline, but somewhere here in the near future, acquire that card, in graded form.
So let's turn this quote unquote interview around. What I love about this is more of a conversation than an interview.
Yeah.
So let's turn this around. So what do you think you're going to have to spend on said Jackie Robinson in the grade you want, in the holder you want? What do you estimate that number is going to be?
Oh man, that's a great question, and I thought about it, so I kind of have an answer for you. You can get a PSA 1, even a 2, probably for a couple thousand. I'm leaning more towards trying to get a 4 or 5. I mean, you go higher than that, it's probably just going to be in car price range, and I am still married. I'm trying to stay that way after 20.
It's a goal statement.
If my wife learns what something like that might cost, as much as she doesn't really complain, or she is supportive in her own sort of way, that I might get some feedback there. So I'm probably looking at like 3, 4, 5, and maybe $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and obviously I want to pay it where I have it in hand, and I don't owe a ton where I'm, my wife says, I'm sure I'll show it to her, and she'll be like, where'd you get that from? And I'll just say I saved it up, and it's already paid for. Don't worry about it. And then I'll be good,
Well, and I asked that because of how you said, you've opened less this year, and even when I post on Twitter, and I'll post a low-end T206 card or a T210 card that I paid like $20 for. And you'll see people say, "Oh, I can't afford to collect those." Well, actually, you can.
Yeah. You
just went and bought a blaster that you knew you weren't going to get some big hit out of for $20. You could have had a P206 card.
Yep.
I admit that the Jackie Robinson, I did not realize the price was that high on that, because that's just something that's not on my radar.
Yep.
But if you talk about you were busting a lot of wax, and let's just say on average you're spending $100 a box.
Yep.
Well, instead of opening 30 boxes of cards throughout the year.
Yep. There you go.
To which you're still going to lose money on if you try to resell everything. Now you just bought that Jackie Robinson for $3,000 that you wanted.
Yep.
And you're going to remember that, and you're going to treasure that.
Yep.
And 20 years down the road, you're going to know. You're going to remember the excitement of getting that card. You're going to know roughly where you got it, when you got it. What about all those cards that are in those other 30 boxes?
Yeah.
From those 30 boxes, what are you going to remember out of that stuff?
Yeah.
Odds are nothing.
No, you hit it right on the head, Ken. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And it's funny because, I mentioned that credit card bill, and I zeroed it out and paid it off. And, the thought crossed my mind, too. Like, all right, I owed that much. Now I don't. Now I just buy the card and put it on the card and then pay it off again. I've toyed with that idea. I'm not even ruling it out 100%, but I rather just pay for it and have it and not owe on it. And like you said, you'll appreciate it and you'll cherish it. And, and when that day comes, I'll post it. I'm sure I'll probably tag you after this conversation. So,
I'll retweet it.
Yeah. So, and I, comparing the modern to the vintage, I mean, there really isn't a comparison. We could, talk for another 2 hours about, I had Luke Pascal on the show, very intelligent guy. He does kind of he puts it out there for free where others sell it, kind of a market report on certain players and their key rookie cards. And he puts that information out there, and he terms like in the modern cards, like I don't know if he stole it from someone else or he came up with it himself, but he used a term called artificial scarcity, and how, sure, there's like, it's numbered to 5, but there's 10 different parallels. So it's really numbered to 50. and you know, in others it's numbered to 25, but there's 4 versions of it, so it's really a card to 100, and so he, you know, the term he used was artificial scarcity, and I think that happens in modern cards, but you know, with the vintage stuff, I know I'm preaching to the choir with you, is, you know, whatever is made, and a lot of those cards don't even exist no more. They were thrown out, destroyed, and that sort of thing, and you know, to me, that just, you appreciate it more. I'm 46, so, you know, I remember a lot more of the vintage than maybe someone, I'm not trying to say I'm better, but than someone who might be 26 even, you know. And so you appreciate that era of cards. It's kind of the pure, you know, no parallels and inserts, and it's a rookie or not a rookie, and that was pretty much it. And, you know, I've really, you know, really like you, have really gone back and started to go more a little bit in that direction. And I started by just, the first kind of phase was just to open a lot less modern. And it was easier than I anticipated. So I'm going to keep on that level. And like you said, you know, you open, whether it be a blaster or you buy hobby stuff, you know, when you really step back, and if you really wrote down what you spent and what you pulled out and maybe what you get for it if you sell anything from it, you know, it's sort of a losing proposition. And you know, it's fun to open the packs, don't get me wrong. I love doing that, and that'll never change. I know probably for yourself, same thing. But when you really kind of step out of body, if you will, and just see what it is, it's not as hard as you think. And that's what I kind of did to be disciplined. And like I said, I think I did a pretty good job, and it's something I'm just gonna keep maintaining. And you know, maybe soon enough I'll have a Jackie Robinson rookie sitting on my desk here. So
someday.
Yeah. So I know you wrote an article, I think it was May. It was called "I'm Sad About the Hobby." It was really, to me, I read it and I'm like, and I could tell, like, it was an article, you were obviously, like everything you do, was you put yourself out there, you didn't mince words. And, you know, I could tell, like me, a lot of what you wrote in it about some of the monetary stuff, kind of souring stuff on the hobby and not like it was. And I tend to agree with pretty much the article. I felt like it was something I could have wrote if I had enough, if I was writing anything at the time, number one, and if I had enough chutzpah to do it, and you did, and I agreed with it almost wholeheartedly. But I also could tell in reading it, and I don't know, you know, how many listeners have read it. I said, you know, you weren't happy about what you were writing about, but you also felt like it needed to be to said, and that goes into kind of the conversation we even just had with the way the modern card market is, and that. But you know, I don't know how much you want to talk about the piece, but you know, you've wrote a lot of stuff, and I love all of it. But that one really, like, struck a chord to me, to the point, like, I even remembered the title of it without even having to write it down. And you know, I appreciate that you love the hobby. You're a great advocate of it. No one can deny that or refute that. But you're also a straight shooter, and you just said, hey, look, it's not all roses and daisies, and there's some stuff that I see it this way, and frankly I did too when reading it, because it's many things I've already thought of and myself, and you to me that thing kind of hit a home run. Some people might read it and say, oh man, it's, you know, why are you saying that? But when you really boil it down for what you said, you can't really argue it. It's pretty factual. And you know, I know someone said, well, that's someone's opinion, but you know, I felt like, you know, it needed to be said, whether you like it or you don't like it. I liked it. That's me. I appreciated that you did that kind of work, and you know, I'll call it reporting. I know it's a blog, but it's reporting, it's media, and I don't know what you want. I probably said more than, you know, I kind of rambled on about it, but anything you want to add with that piece?
Yeah, it's funny. We both, right before we started recording, you had briefly mentioned this, and to be honest, I had to go back and refresh my memory on exactly what I wrote. So one thing I noticed at the end is that I ended it with, hopefully it's just a bad day. Maybe it's because I'm a grumpy old man. I tell you, I think if I recall correctly, like this was one that like there must have been something going on one day on social media, likely Twitter, because that's where I spend most of my hard time. And man, it looks. And if I remember correctly, I just came home and just put it out there. I was just in a foul mood, if I remember correctly. But it's funny, you talked about it was from May. It looks like it was May 2nd. So we're talking 5 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's funny how some of these things, if you look at some of the subheadings I have, that things have continued, down those. I talk about, breaker scammers and repack scammers and Facebook scammers. And then I mention, those negative things as well. Now we've had Slabgate.
Yep.
We've had PWCC.
Yep.
And then did you see the new thing from PWCC today?
No. You're going to break news to me.
They're starting something now where, I don't know, somehow you buy and have it shipped to them because they're in Oregon, which has no sales tax. So basically, you know how everybody's getting charged sales tax now?
Yep.
What started for me at the beginning of October on eBay and ComC.
So they found a loophole?
Do I now?
So they found a loophole?
They're trying to find a loophole to keep people from paying taxes. That's not going to turn out terribly at all. No. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, you've got that, and, I said whether you like the, I'm going to go ahead and mention another podcast because I don't think it's a problem for you.
Nope.
As I said, whether you like the sports card radio guys or not, you can't argue with a lot of their points.
Yeah.
And then I said on their latest podcast, Colin Ryan correctly point out, it's not all sunshine and rainbows if Gary Vee brings in new people to the hobby.
Yeah.
It just means more people will be eyes on the hobby. And then, you'll think it was just yes or no. It was earlier today. I was seeing people talk about, well, Gary Vee is certainly just, his hobby talk is really chilled out now that he's not setting up the net. And it's these little things,
Yeah.
But, one of the other things was card producers' lack of accountability.
Yep.
Especially one particular company that I'm not going to besmirch here and there, but if you want to follow me on Twitter at Beans B-Card Blog, it probably won't take you very long to figure out who I'm talking about.
Yep.
Enough of the bickering and whining. Just everybody complains about everybody. A seller complains about the buyers. Buyers complain about sellers and prices. And, just come on, guys.
Yeah.
One thing I said is, the money is killing the hobby.
Yeah.
And it really is. You look at, I'm not a fan of group breakers in general, and, they're taking allocations from brick and mortars. In my opinion, between the group breakers and all the, I feel like the investing talk is just getting bigger and bigger on current cards.
Yeah.
I feel like it's those people, to me, I'm sorry, they're not collectors. And I feel you're almost getting a have and a have not. The collectors are the low end guys, and they're getting priced out of a lot of stuff because they're not investors. But it was just one of those. I think I was having a bad day, and I tried to touch on a lot of points. This is one that I definitely I got a little bit of blowback on Twitter from it, but a lot of the people that I interact with a lot, they felt very similar, kind of like when I mentioned the sports card radio guys. Do I agree with 100% of what they say? Absolutely not.
No.
It's probably more in the 75 to 80% range.
Yeah.
And in the same way, some of the guys I know, I got a couple of comments on there, and they may not agree with necessarily everything I say, but in general, they agree with what I said. And, we had talked about that earlier. Not everybody's going to like 100% of what you say, and almost nobody's going to like 0% of what you say. It's going to be somewhere there in the middle.
Well, that's the thing, Ken, is it doesn't matter what side of the coin you write, someone is not going to agree with it. That's just life. And so when someone puts that out there like you did and just spoke from their heart and to me, that's what I see. And, that you titled the piece, the title kind of speaks in its own right. You said, I'm sad about the hobby I love. So you're saying you love the hobby. It's not like a smear piece. You know what I mean? You're basically saying you love the hobby, but you're disappointed in these things. And, it's like a fan of a team. You love the team, but you're disappointed maybe in how the GM is running the team, or how the manager is managing the team, or making the lineup card out. You still love the team and support the team, but you don't like what's going on within it. And that's what I think I don't want to speak for you, you're right here, but I think that's what you were driving at. I think it was things that, like you said, you got both feedback, but sounds like more positive. I'm going to give you the positive on that piece myself. Very well written, and it was reading it, I'm like, yep. When you read something and it checks the boxes, and I couldn't have said it better myself, and it needs to be said. I love the hobby too, but it isn't all like everything isn't utopian. There's nothing wrong, and it's all wonderful and Pleasantville. It's not, and admitting that's kind of the first thing, and doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. You're enjoying it. You've got a new focus, kind of going back to the pre-war cards and vintage, and I'm tending to starting to look more that way myself. You're still enjoying the hobby, but you just wrote something, your observations basically, and many of them, if not all of them, I think you nailed it.
It's interesting that parallel you draw between card collecting and maybe following a sports team. Where before I started my hobby blog, I actually wrote for a website that covered WVU sports.
Yeah.
And I wrote about WVU football, and I definitely got a lot of blowback at times because I was not the overly positive, always everything is great. And I was thinking it as you were talking, and then you kind of delved into it. In a lot of ways, it's like the sports fandom, where you've got those fans that everything is great, nothing's wrong. We love our coach, even though we went 3-9 this year. Everything's great. He's going to turn it around next year. Just wait till all these recruits come in. Well, I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of those guys, and there are those guys in the hobby too that everything's great. All the manufacturers do nothing wrong. All of the third-party graders, they don't do anything wrong. Everything's bull crap.
Yeah.
And those are the guys that are, so affectionately known as the card fondlers.
Yeah.
And, if you can't be critical of nothing is perfect, and if you can't be critical of something, then you're really nothing more than just a fanboy and
Yeah. No, you're right. And I'm like you. You know what I mean? I'm a huge Steeler guy, and we're struggling right now. And
sorry about that.
Yeah, and I was a huge Mike Tomlin guy, but I'm starting not to be a huge Mike Tomlin guy. Doesn't mean I don't still love my Steelers, but it just means maybe we're coaching. Sometimes the coach is there a certain amount of time. That voice falls on deaf ears in the locker room, and maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. I'm not there. I can just give an opinion. But sometimes a change is needed, and I call it being a realist. I think a fan of anything, like you said, fanboy. Some in the sports world, the term that they use is being a homer for a team. I'm more of a realist fan. If the Steelers are playing bad, or I think the coaching's bad, I'm going to say something about it. And I've had people say, what kind of Steeler fan are you? Or even with any of my other teams, what kind of fan are you? And I'm like, I'm a fan the same as you are. I'm just a little bit more honest about what I'm seeing. I just don't sugarcoat everything like you might. And I don't even think you're less of a fan. I just have a difference of opinion. I don't think you're not a Steeler fan because you don't say that. I just say it because I see it and feel it. And, So they always, the terms that they're using are like homer. If you just nothing that they're doing is wrong, and if you criticize anything, you're not really a fan, or what kind of fan are you? And I don't
You're
think
a hater.
Yeah, and I like you said, right, in covering WVU. I think you're covering it. You got to report both sides, good and bad, and that's, to me, that's what you got to do. And I think even with the hobby, that's what I try to do with the show. I like to talk more about all the great stuff too, but you can't act like some of this bad stuff's not occurring, bury your head in the sand. I don't think that's the way to handle those situations. And people may not like hearing it all the time, but it is what it is. You have a choice what you want to listen to or not listen to, and I do, you do, and so does everyone else. And going back to that piece, I just think it was just well done. I thought the time when it came out, it was stuff that really needed to be said, and I think a lot of people read it like I did, Ken, and probably said, "Man, I feel that you hit that out of the park." It was like he wrote it, but it was like he read my mind, And like I said, you know this as well as I do. You're not going to win the whole room. It's just almost impossible, and you don't try. And like I said to start the show, some people call that opinionated. Not that that's not a derogatory term. I like the term straight shooter. Straight shooter means you say you're honest, you say what you believe and what you feel, and no one has to play guessing games where you're coming from. And that's always refreshing.
I was just going to say, sorry, I was trying to not lose that train of thought. But I mean, the reality is, just even in life, I've always been a heel. If you know the wrestling term, the heel is the bad guy, and I've always been the natural heel. I'm gonna say it, even if you don't like it. If I believe it, I'm gonna say it.
Yeah.
I don't often sit there just to try to get a rise out of people. If you catch me on a bad day, I might. But in general, it's the saying what I think, and it's just the side I'm on. I'm always going to be more King Kong Bundy than I am Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Well, I can speak for me, but I got a feeling I'm speaking for a lot of people. I appreciate that about you. I appreciate you for that. I rather people be more like that. I think we need more of that, not less of it. I know you said, you might spend a little less time. I understand why. Like you said, you've got a stepson that's going away. You're going to have, you and the wife home alone. I don't think anyone can not understand that. I hope you still, what you bring to the table, I hope you, and I know you're not leaving completely, but I hope you still write your stuff, give your opinions, even if it's a little bit less. Some is better than none at all. And so I want to give you this, anything you want to give out, your website, any of your handles that people can read your stuff like I do, or find what you're doing and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I love to talk about, things card related. Sometimes I don't know as much. Like, I tweeted today, I asked a question about Bowman rookie cards. I'm like, okay, so what is the actual Bowman rookie card? Because I'm just not a prospector. I'm not into baseball, so I don't know necessarily what things are. I just love to talk cards, and I love to ask questions, and Twitter is where I do that.
Yeah.
If you're on Twitter, Beans B Card blog, please, if you haven't already followed me, please give me a follow, and I should follow you back if I don't catch it. Just shoot me a message a couple days later, or I guess you can shoot me a message. Tweet me a couple days later, say, hey, I followed you a couple days ago. Can I get a follow back? Because I love talking cards, and that's something. And to the Twitter thing, when I'm on my laptop, that's something I can do while I'm still with my wife and we're talking and we're watching TV.
Yeah.
So that's something I can do. I can't really do that if I'm doing a video or writing or doing something like that. So that's easily the best place to get me. My website, I've actually got a website, so Beans Ballcard blog, and if I get to writing again a whole lot, that'll be more news, opinion, that kind of stuff, kind of like the post you talked about.
Yep.
And then I have, I Feel Like a Collector again, which is a blogspot site And if I get back to that, I might do that more as my personal collection, showing off stuff. And I guess YouTube, Beans Ballcard Blog, I think just one word. I haven't posted many videos lately, although I did post a video that was a product review of a graded card case I bought.
Yep, I saw that.
I would encourage people to check that out. I'm not going to sit here and plug on somebody else's podcast, but they...
we do. I got to say, we do have a case manufacturer that's one of my sponsors. So.
Yeah, so I don't want to do that.
But check your Twitter. Check your Twitter. It's or YouTube.
Yeah. And I'm betting, I've seen a lot of cases out there, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of good-looking ones out there.
Yeah, no doubt.
I have a feeling that you can't go wrong no matter who you buy, and it just might be...
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just what's
personal
visually
preference.
appealing to you.
Yeah, personal preference.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, I did post a video, I think, on Sunday on YouTube. I'm hoping to get back a little bit more to that. I've had a couple people, kind of trying to encourage me to get back at it. It's just one of those things where doing these things, from doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I know from writing, and I know you've written in the past.
Yeah.
These things are time-consuming. A blog post that you can read in 5 minutes took me an hour to write.
Yep. Yeah,
A podcast that you listen to, for 45 minutes, that took a lot of time to get that together.
Yeah,
so
I can
one of those
attest.
things where,
I'm not trying to have a pity party, but most of our episodes go about an hour and a half, hour and 45, and there's probably 5, 6, 7 hours work of doing the interviews, editing, adding content, research, and
absolutely, because I've done a podcast in the past. I did with my friend Jason. We've done it in the past, so I get all that, and every once in a while I'll hear somebody mention that because the end consumer that doesn't do it, they don't realize how much time you're actually putting into these things.
Yep. No, it's true. And I, I listen to other ones as well. And so I know exactly from now doing this one that, the work that goes into it. And like you said, even writing, people think, you just whip that out and 10, 15, 20 minutes. And no, it's not as simple as that, And I guess sometimes, and I'll stick up for those folks, Ken, until sometimes you do something yourself, you don't really know what it entails. And
Absolutely.
So, well, like I said, man, I hope you don't be a stranger to the hobby. I know you're not going to be. I'd love to have you back on again sometime for sure. And I know I'm hoping to read some more stuff, and I'll definitely follow you. I already follow you on Twitter, so I'll just continue to read what you put out there, man. It's I like I said, I tend to really side with a lot of what you say, and we kind of, I don't know if I want to be so bold to say great minds think alike, but we think alike for whatever minds those might be. So
I always say that, but I also say so do serial killers. And on that, I guess I'm done.
All right, well, Ken, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. Awesome stuff. We'll see your materials. Keep going. Even if it's a little less, keep going.
Appreciate it. Happy to be here anytime you want to chat. I mean, this was an interview. This was us talking about cards.
Yeah,
and could do that for hours.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Thanks, man.
All right, appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too.
Hey guys, this is Matt from Firebox Sports Card Cases. In our hobby, there are so many different ways to collect. From group breaks to singles, Hall of Fame vintage to prospect autos. No matter how you collect, you place a premium on your cards. With our durable aluminum frames, precision cut foam inserts, locking closures, and detachable shoulder straps, Firebox will be the only case worthy of your collection. Firebox offers 3 unique cases so you can choose the option that best fits your collecting style. Whether you want the most graded capacity, the versatility to seamlessly switch between raw and graded cards, or hands-free buying, selling, and trading with our first-of-its-kind collector's hardshell backpack, Firebox has a solution for you. There is plenty of fire to pull in today's hobby, but the hobby isn't in the junk era anymore. So why are you still storing your collection in boxes made of junk? Go to fireboxcases.com today and use promo code SCNPOD to get 10% off your order of a premium case to reflect your premium cards. That's fireboxcases.com, promo code SCNPOD to start bringing the heat with you wherever you go.
All right, time for our From the Box Seats segment where we go around the world of sports to talk about the stories that affect the hobby we so love. Let's start in football. Patrick Mahomes just went down with what looks to be a knee injury. Had to be helped off the field. This one does not look good. He was already playing through some ankle pain and now a knee injury. And this one, just by visuals, looks significant, so he may miss some significant time, but we'll have to stay tuned to the injury reports and the medical diagnosis. Speaking to injuries, different sport, but another huge name in that sport, Zion Williamson, again, some knee pain. They're going to do some evaluation on him. They're shutting him down for the last preseason game with the hopes he'll be ready to go for the opener against the defending champion Toronto Raptors. This has been the big thing that I've said, and it's not a secret. He's had a knee issue at Duke. He had a knee issue in the Summer League. And he says apparently it's kind of reared its ugly head here in the preseason towards the end here. And, I mean, he's obviously a dynamic, great player, but he's got a lot of weight on that frame. And this is a lot of times what you see with guys of this build is that their knees, they have issues. And he's obviously very young, and he's starting to have these. And really, you know, when you look at the long-term picture, that does not bode well. Now, that doesn't mean he can't play for 12, 15 years, but I really, really makes me nervous. And what, you know, when you see what some of these cards of his are bringing, I get the hype. He's a player that doesn't come along that often. I understand all that, but there's some injury question marks, and I don't know. With me, maybe I'm being a little bit on the cheap side, maybe not, but I'm not going to spend that kind of dough on a Zion Williamson. He's fun to watch, but I really worry long term how long this guy's going to be able to play at that sort of level, and when these injuries, especially those knees, start to falter. So if I'm going to spend some of the money that his stuff is bringing, I'm probably going to go in a different direction with it. So I'm a guy, you know, I pulled Zion to 40 out of the national packs, obviously at the national, and I got a pretty decent penny for it, and I sold it. And I got to be honest with you, you know, sometimes you sell a card and you sort of have like regrets after. I really don't, because I just worry about long term how this guy can hold up if he's already having knee problems. Now let's go back to football. Jalen Ramsey dilemma is over, at least for Jacksonville. They get 2 first-rounders from the Rams and a 4th-round pick, and probably going to be, you know, addition by subtraction there. And the Rams need some secondary help. So I think maybe the change of scenery will be good for both teams. Jacksonville gets a locker room malcontent, gets rid of them, and the Rams fill a hole and maybe comes in with a fresh new attitude and a clean slate, which I'm sure the Rams will give him, and helps their back end. To make room for him, the Rams shipped Marcus Peters to Baltimore for draft picks. And he kind of underperformed, and he was a guy I was hoping the Steelers would look at and maybe try to acquire. I still think he's a very good player, but it just didn't really seem to work in LA with him and the Rams. So he'll get a change of scenery to Baltimore. and sticking to football. We've talked about Baker Mayfield and some of his struggles. He's having trouble with the interception. I'm going to come at it from someone who does know a decent amount of football and coached it. I understand they got those weapons on the outside and OBJ and Landry, and they want to get vertical. But I think some of Baker's troubles is they're not setting up the pass with the run. And I think that offense needs to start through Chubb and then open up those passing lanes to those receivers, obviously. So, you got Mayfield throwing 35 to 40 times a game. I don't think that's the number they want him at. I think more of that 27, 28, lean on Chubb more and whatnot. I think, Freddie Kitchens might be a great coordinator, but right now he's, many report that he's getting out-coached, out-schemed during the games now as a head coach. So some guys work better as just coordinators and head coaches. North Turner comes to mind. Some people think Jason Garrett fits that description, even though he's the head coach in Dallas. And so, Freddie Kitchens might be a little bit out of his element as a first-time coach in the NFL. And, people are questioning why they're not running the ball more to set up the pass, and that is what many feel is leading to Baker having some down numbers this year in his sophomore season. I think there's a good percentage of truth there. I don't know if that's the only reason, but teams watch film. Teams got a lot more film on Baker this year than they obviously had last year, so he's going to have to make some adjustments to his game. I think he's capable. I wouldn't, I've said this already on the show. I wouldn't panic sell, but I would really start to look closely at my Baker inventory and how much you want to keep. But I still think he's a very good quarterback. I think they got to just figure some things out there. So let's go to the world of baseball. Let's before we talk about the playoffs, let's talk about, it was a great unfortunate story when it happened, and then some of the stuff that happened after Tyler Skaggs passed away, with some of the tributes and how the Angels team rallied around his loss and stuff like that was pretty touching. I know it got me. I posted some stuff about it. But unfortunately, some really negative stuff's come out about it. And I had a feeling that was going to be the case. It got very quiet about cause of death, and we didn't hear nothing for months. And I've seen this before. A lot of times when you don't hear nothing like that, there's some investigation going on. And it's coming out now that he's been using some drugs. That some of there are other Angels that are doing the same, and that a club official was acquiring it for certain players, and now there's an investigation going on. And so, what was kind of some touching stuff is kind of having kind of a sour ending, unfortunately, to it. And it's sad. I mean, it's sad that Tyler Skaggs lost his life. However it happened, it doesn't really matter. A father was lost, a husband was lost, but now it's coming out that it wasn't, I mean, it's always tragic, but it wasn't, as innocent as maybe first being portrayed. And it's sad. It's sad all around. We'll have to wait and see what the Major League Baseball's investigation yields, if there's going to be any punishment or repercussions from what they find out. I guess time will tell there. On to the playoffs. Your Washington Nationals swept the St. Louis Cardinals. Surprise there. Not so. I would have picked the Cardinals if I had to pick a winner. And the fact that the Nationals just swept them and ran them right out of the gym was surprising to me. And I don't think most expected them to be the National League representative in the World Series. I think A majority would have picked the Dodgers or the Braves, and then probably the Cardinals next. And the Nationals might have been one of the last teams that a lot of people would have picked to survive and advance and get to this point. But yet, here they are, and with that sweep, they get the rest up. They get to rest their rotation, their starters, their pitchers, and all the players. They're going to await either the Astros or Yankees. Right now, the Astros have a 2-1 game lead, and they are winning Game 4. Game 4, scheduled for Wednesday night, was rained out, and so they're playing Game 4 on Thursday. And as I'm recording this, they have a 3-1 lead in the mid-innings. And if that lead holds up, they're going to be up 3-1, and in the driver's seat, headed for a matchup with the Washington Nationals. If it winds up being Houston or against the Nationals, I think the advantage the Nationals have is the rest they're getting. But I think team power-wise, I'd pick the Astros. But is that rest going to be the great equalizer? I don't know. The Yankees definitely aren't done. So if the Yankees are the team that comes out of the American League, I think they're the favorite, at least on paper, against the Nationals. So I still see the Nationals as underdogs no matter who comes out of the American League. But this rest might be a huge swing factor to them competing and winning their first ever World Series title. So baseball playoffs, always fun. Juan Soto going to make his first World Series appearance. Had a pretty good playoff postseason performance so far, and so it's going to be fun to see who the Nationals get in the World Series and how that rest versus no rest theory and performance plays out. Are you tired of that standard annoying team bag? You know, the ones that get wrinkly, baggy, scratched up, and cloudy where you can't even see your prized cards anymore? I was too, until I found the answer. And that answer is crystal clear. Perfect Fit Sleeves. These sleeves are water clear and smooth as silk, and are what collectors are waiting for way too long. The solution comes in every size, from the smallest to the largest, including thick magnetics and graded cards. I use them. I swear by them. Find yours today at www.perfectfitsleeves.com or go to eBay and search seller Richie707, RICHY 707. You can thank me later. Well, that concludes another episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast. Some things in closing. First off, I want to thank my guest, Kinsley, today from Bean's Ballcard blog. Awesome guest. Really glad to have him on. He's one of those guests I'm definitely going to have on again. It's great conversation when you can just, doesn't matter what you're talking about, you're going to get someone's real opinion, and you can give yours back as well. So that's always refreshing. Good dude. Even though he does like the West Virginia Mountaineers, but we'll forgive him for that, and I hope he forgives me for being a Syracuse Orange fan. Again, in closing, couple program notes. Episode 50, weeks away here, $50 bills going to somebody. Episode 51, our birthday show, we turn 1, and we're giving away close to $1,000 presents to you, not to us. It's our birthday, you get the presents, and we got some crazy giveaways that week. Don't want to miss that. Also, December 6th will be our Sports Card Nation Hobbyist Awards, where you vote. We select the categories and the nominees. You vote on the polls and select the winners, and on December 6th, we will have that show where we announce those winners that you, the hobbyist, selected. We started a group in the Flick Chat app. It's just like a message board kind of chat app pertaining especially to podcasts. It's Sports Card Nation on Flick Chat. So if you're already on there, join that room. And if you're not on Flick Chat, you can download the app. It's free. And like I said, the keyword is Sports Card Nation. Join our room. And I think we're going to really lean on that heavily on that $1,000 giveaway episode 51 show. So go ahead and get prepared now. Get in there and get ready. So as always, we thank you as we approach here a year. We're almost there, a year and being in business, if you will, and pumping out weekly content. Show again has come a long way. It's just I could never imagine this, and pleasantly and surprised and humbled and honored, and it's thanks to you, the listeners, all of you, every single one of you, whether you're listening to a few shows, all of them. We appreciate you all the same way. You're giving of your time in that respect. Our sponsors have been just tremendous. I can't say that enough. All of them, even the past ones that maybe are no longer involved. Without you, we wouldn't be where we are today. And our current sponsors, obviously, hats off to you. Can't thank you enough. And so, here we are. Episode 47's in the books. A year's almost in the books, and real honored to get to do this. It's really a pleasure for me. It's not easy to do it every week, but it's really enjoyable. It's really fun, and I'm glad I get to do it. And everyone that I just mentioned makes that possible. So we'll see you in a week. Thanks again. Take care. God bless.
You've been listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast. Join host John Newman next week as he gives you another jam-packed episode of all things related to the sports card hobby. And a little extra fun, too. Don't forget to check out the show on Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast.